lovely friends, it's Margaret, and it is time to talk about what I read in March. So March was a month. It was a long month, just really long, a long month. April's looking to be about as long, but who knows? We're still at the very beginning. It might speed up. Who knows? Anyways, to no one's surprise, I didn't do all that much reading in March. Part of that is just because of the general state of the world, and honestly, it was all because I started watching my favorite TV show again and then just didn't care about anything. That's basically what happened. Is halfway through March I started watching TV again. Even though I didn't read a lot of books in March, I did read some really, really good ones. I really enjoyed what I read, so let's get into the stats for March. So in March, I read 5 books that came out to 1,978 pages in total. 2 of those books were physical books, 2 of those books were audiobooks, and 1 of those books was a graphic novel. The age categories for all of those books were 2 adult, 2 YA, and 1 middle grade. Genre breakdown came to 3 fantasy, 1 contemporary, and 1 thriller. All 5 of those books ended up being 4 stars. 3 of those books were books that I owned, 2 I got from the library, which saved me a total of $25.98. My favorite book in March was Empire of Sand, and my least favorite book was The Other People. However, I do want to point out that that's just, of the 4-star books that I got, that was the one I liked the least. I didn't really have a least favorite book this month. Yeah. The first book that I finished in March was The Other People by C.J. Tudor. The Other People is an adult thriller about a man who is going up and down the highway looking for any clues about the disappearance of his daughter. Everyone else believes she is dead, but he knows that he saw her looking out at him from the back of a passenger car the day that she was supposedly murdered. I ended up reading this book for Books and Lala's Literally Dead book club. I wanted to start it, and then quarantine happened, so I can't get any more new books, but I did get to this one, so there's that. Anyways, I really, really enjoyed this. This is the kind of thriller that I am looking for. I really appreciated the dynamics between the characters. That's what I read for, is I read for character, and this just really had characters that you got in and you were rooting for from the get-go. You had personal involved stakes. You wanted them to go, none of them made me go, "You're an idiot, please die." That's what I want in my thrillers. I want to have at least one character where I'm like, you know what, I actually kind of want you to get your goal. Sometimes that means you're rooting for some screwed up people, but whatever. I also like the fact that it was a multiple point of view mystery, so you're getting bits and pieces of the story as we're going through it. You're not getting one single solid narrative. It's really pulling between the characters and developing the relationships between the characters, and so all of that is interconnected with the plot. It was glorious. I was never bored reading this book. I was always trying to figure out what was the next thing going to be. What were all of these things meaning? There are so many clues that are dropped, and you're having to piece everything together as you go through the story. I just like those books. It was like a puzzle with words. Also, the emotional moment, I can't tell you what moment this is, but it is a moment that once you figure out what's going on, you are waiting for this moment to happen from, actually no, you're probably waiting for this moment to happen from the very beginning of the book. And the way it goes down, and the way it happens, I have no words, because I cannot tell you in words, because then I will spoil a lot of it. But the emotions, those are the kinds of emotional moments that just make me glad that I read fiction. I just loved it so much. I'm fine. This was almost a 5-star book. If it had not been for one thing, it would have been a 5-star book, and that was the... How do I say this without spoiling it? There just was a particular element of how things were happening in the plot that I didn't like. For a plot that is like this plot, to have that element in there kind of took away from the impact and the emotion of the story. I felt like it was unnecessary. I felt like we could have had everyone in the places that they were supposed to be without this element. So, it was almost a 5-star book. So the second book that I finished in March was, there goes the title of the book is gone. Just push. So the second book that I finished in March is My Hero Academia Volume 4 by Kohei Horikoshi. My Hero Academia is a manga about Deku. It follows Deku as he navigates high school, superhero high school, despite the fact that he only just recently gained superpowers. Y'all, We are Deku stans in this household. He is wonderful. He is a cinnamon roll. I love him. He has done nothing wrong in his life ever. Granted, we're only on volume 4, so I'm sure there is plenty of time for him to mess up and actually screw up and be a jerk and have to, you know, redeem himself for the audience. But this child, his mother is a lucky woman. I don't know about his dad. We've never heard about his dad. What's going on there, guys? Some of the things that I really liked about this particular volume is that there was such a focus on the plot and developing the characters. There really weren't any filler moments in here. Everything kind of, it all led into the plot. It all led into development of the characters. It was fast-paced. It was action-packed. We were on the, or I at least, was on the edge of my seat as I'm reading this. Like, I could not put it down. I was having so much fun. Except when I was mad at certain characters for being butt faces. But that's a whole different story. I'm waiting for them to improve and be someone that I love because I've heard that this is going to happen. You know me, I love a good. Like Zuko level, good. Scar from Full Metal Alchemist, good. Not Star Wars level good. Star Wars, they're okay redemption arcs. They're okay. But I like seeing characters do the work. So I am excited to see if maybe this character will stop being a butt face and do the work to become a better person. Anyways, I really liked the fact that even though you kind of know what is going to happen, Horikoshi manages to make it happen in unexpected ways. Like the team-ups that happen, the way that the characters interact, the things that are revealed about characters. Like, we get some great tragic backstory in this volume. I was here for it. Just the level of development of all of the characters in this volume was beautiful. It was wonderful, and it looks like we're gonna get to see my gal Uraraka shine in the next volume, so I'm ready for that. I am here for it. While I did feel like the plot and character arcs were much stronger in this volume than they were in the last couple of volumes, or the first couple of volumes, I do want to say, like, still, I'm waiting for some nice development with the female characters. Like, there are so many characters that are used in this, and none of them, hardly any of them that we get focused on are female. Could we not have had a tragic backstory for a female character? There literally is no reason for some of these characters to be male, except that they're male, and that's what, like, the author imagined them as. No reason. They could have. But they weren't. I'm not saying that there are not a plethora of female characters to choose from. I'm just saying that they are not getting equal time and focus in the story, and that is something that I find male-led series tends to be an issue. The next book that I finished in March was Let's Go Swimming on Doomsday by Natalie C. Parker. Let's Go Swimming on Doomsday follows Abdi, who infiltrates a terrorist organization in order to save both his brother and his family. This is another one that gets you right in the feels at the ending. Whew. Yes. Yeah. So I ended up reading this on the recommendation of Jessie from Bow Tyson Books. They really liked this book, and I was like, it sounds interesting, and it's a part of the world that I don't typically read about. You know, Somalia is not something that you typically see as a focus in YA fiction. You might see it in an adventure novel, and how good, like, the actual representation are in those novels, that's up for debate. But I really thought that Abdi was a compelling main character. He is not perfect. He is flawed. He is in such a hard place. He does not make the smartest decisions all the time, but, like, he doesn't have that many choices. Like, his hand is being forced, and you're sitting there feeling for him the entire time, going, oh man, I wish this was not your situation. I wish life was being much better to you. It's not an easy book to read. It deals with child soldiers, so obviously it is going to be a difficult thing to read. It's going to be something that really makes you have to sit back and think and sit with what is happening in the plot. However, I did find it not just compelling, but also really educational. I found it very thoughtful about what it was portraying. There is a really strong focus on family, and there are places where I would just, like this kid fights for his brother in ways that his brother does not his brother doesn't necessarily deserve it, but he still is family, and his brother, Abby, still loves him, and just seeing that, you really get to see that love. There is a dual timeline, which I think really works for the narrative, because the way the situations are working out, you have Abdi in the past, and you have Abdi now. Now, Abdi now has the potential, he's able to have some more lighthearted moments, so the book never gets too deep and dark and heavy. You're never sitting there. You're allowed to come up for air, basically, and have a good laugh for something that's completely unrelated to all of the trauma that Abdi has suffered. You're able to kind of just, like, have a breather, and then you get back into the hard, dark, serious stuff that's going on. It has some cute romances. in it, which made me very happy as a person. Although that's not the main focus, and I understood that, and so like I didn't really like the fact that it was even in there made me happy. One of the things I really appreciated about this is that it showed how radicalization when it comes to religion really works. Like, just listening, it was very, as someone who was raised religious, it was very disturbing to see similarities between the way they were twisting Islam and the way that I have seen, just the things that I have seen preached at church. I'm going, well, you're saying this is bad on this hand, but this is something that I've heard people say from the pulpit. And so it really gives you context and a lens and shows you how, even when we don't mean to, even when we think we're being good about it, I guess, when we're being faithful, we can still get things wrong and we can still twist things. And I really appreciated that. Not necessarily, not appreciated it so much, but like it was hard, but it was good. It was something that I needed to think about. Does that make sense? The next book that I finished in March was Empire of Sand by Tasha Suri. Empire of Sand is about Mare, who accidentally exposes her magical powers and ends up having to marry to save her family from the consequences. If y'all have not listened to Jocelyn yet, you need to, because this book is every bit as good as she says it is. Okay? Okay? This is a beautiful, romantic masterpiece. It's amazing, and I loved it. Some of the things that I really loved about this book is I loved Mare as a main character. She is great, she's compelling, she's intriguing, she's interesting. Basically the Lady Gaga gif. She is that. You know the one I'm talking about? She's so tenacious, and she doesn't give up, and the fact that she has not broken, ooh, the people that tried to break her, there was somebody, not gonna say who, that I wanted to smack upside the head because of how Mare was raised. I'm like, you do not treat children like that. I don't care. I don't care. You don't treat children like the way you treated her. I have feelings. That's all I want to say. This world building, the magic system that was in it, it was so beautiful and unique. I loved the fact that she drew from Indian history, that she was looking at that and using that to make her world. Like, I mean, you literally look at the map. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? There you go. That's India, guys. That's part of what you're told when you pick this book up. So like, this is a surprise to no one. But I love the fact that she is writing this story from that perspective. There was so much richness and culture that was built into this novel, into the world. I loved the tension in the plot. I was hooked. Took a couple chapters, but I was hooked from pretty much pretty early on in the story. I just wanted to know what happened next. I wanted to know what happened next, and I could not sleep until I figured out what happened next. And that was before the romance started. Whew. Guys, this is the most excruciating, delicious, slow burn. Oh, I loved it. I don't really have words for this romance. I loved how it was built. I loved how wonderful they were with each other. So much of the plot was focused on not taking away the little bit of control that Mare still has after this arranged marriage happens. Like, so much of that. And it is coming from the guy who is also in a tough place. And he still manages to be so kind and wonderful despite the fact that, like, Mare's going along with it. Like, he doesn't take advantage, and I love that. I love it. Okay? We need more male protagonists like this. Please. So the next book that we need to talk about is The Sword of Summer by Rick Riordan. The Sword of Summer is about Magnus Chase, a 16-year-old who finds out that the Norse gods are real and his father is one when he is killed and taken to Valhalla. In the course of all of this, he also finds out that he might be the only person that can prevent Ragnarok. This was the February Demigods Anonymous book. That tells you a lot about how my life is going if I finished it on March 31st and it was the February book. In my defense, this was a reread, so I knew sort of what happened at the end. There was a lot that I'd forgotten, but that's what happens when you've only read a book once and have not obsessed over it repeatedly in a short amount of time, like I have with some other series. As usual, Rick Riordan hits it out of the ballpark with his characters. He does such wonderful character work. He's able to give you these rich, deep characters who you're like, there is so much like you can feel the backstory, even though we're only getting a little tiny glimpse of it. In this book. You can feel it just waiting to come out in the next 2 books in the series. You can just like waiting to wreak havoc with the plot. He does a really good job of making this series diverse, and he doesn't just like make it humanly diverse. Like you have a deaf elf. How many books have you read where the magical character is the one that has the disability? Usually it would be the human who's having to deal with it. Nobody ever thinks of that stuff, at least not from what I have read. This is a first for me. The fact that we have a character that is using ASL in this novel, and I think he does a pretty good job of describing it from the few signs that I know from middle school. Also, his humor, always been my cup of tea, always will be. It makes me very happy. I love it. Listen, he may not have the most sophisticated jokes in this book, but they get me every time. Even when I've read them before, they make me giggle. I enjoy them. It's my kind of humor. Listen, I like puns. Rick Riordan clearly likes puns. Thought he did a really good job considering how little we have of Norse mythology. Like, we only have a handful of stuff. Like, it's not like Greek mythology where we've got, or Egyptian mythology where we have thousands of years of history and having stuff worked into culture and being retold. I think he does a really good job of taking the Norse mythology, making it accessible for a modern audience, and then also adapting it to a modern setting. I loved it. It was good. I enjoyed it. That's basically anything I could ever say about a Rick Riordan novel. Those are all of the books that I read in March. Please let me know down in the comments, what did you read? Have you read any of these? Let's talk books in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and also check out some of the videos over here. You're already on YouTube, you might as well watch the next video. If you are new here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. That is it for now, my friends. Happy reading, and I will see you later when we will talk about more wordy, nerdy things. Bye!